You shall be my witnesses. You shall be my witnesses. A farmer who had been involved in an accident was called to be a witness in court. The lawyer from the other driver asked him, "Sir, isn't it true that immediately after the accident, when the police officer approached you, the first words out of your mouth were, 'I have never felt better in my life'?" The farmer said, "Well, yes, sir, that's true, but let me explain. My horse was pulling the hay wagon down the road. My dog was sitting there right beside me when that man's car came out of nowhere and hit it. And the horse went flying one way and the dog another way and me one more still. And when the police officer came on the scene, he walked up to my horse, took one look at him, pulled out his gun and shot him. Then he walked up to my dog, he took one look at him, pulled out his gun and shot him. Then he walked up to me and I said, 'I've never felt better in my life.' You shall be my witnesses," the risen Lord says to those gathered before him, and directs them to Jerusalem, to all Judea, to Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. We are to share honestly and completely what we have seen and heard. We are to be witnesses, just like that farmer was, and do so to the end of the earth. But, like that farmer, we also have to bear in mind the context in which you and I witness. Scott Weems, in his recent book, The Science of How We Laugh and Why, observes the differences in even our regional contexts when it comes to a sense of humor. Americans, he says, seem to like insult jokes. For instance, a Texan is talking to a Harvard grad. "Where are you from?" the Texan asks. The Harvard grad replies, "I'm from Harvard, a place where we do not end sentences with a preposition." "Okay," the Texan said, "where are you from, jackass?" On the other hand, Weems asserts, Europeans seem to prefer jokes which are absurd or surreal. For instance, a German shepherd walks into the telegram office. He takes out a blank form and he writes on it, "Woof, woof, 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 woof." The clerk examines the paper and patiently tells the dog, "There are only 8 words here. You could send another woof for the same price." The German shepherd replies, "But that would make no sense at all." See, you're not European. That would have killed in London. Is it possible to cut through our cultural context and find something truly universal, something that we could say to everyone and have everyone understand it immediately? Humor researcher Leonard Wiseman culled through over 40,000 jokes in an effort to select the best joke in the world, the one joke that seems to cut through all cultural lines, and this is the one that Wiseman came up with. 2 hunters are out in the woods when one of them collapses. He doesn't seem to be breathing. His eyes are glazed over. The other guy whips out his phone, calls the emergency services. He gasps, "My friend is dead. What should I do?" The operator says, "Calm down. I can help. First of all, let's make sure he's dead." There's a silence. A shot is heard. Back in the phone, the guy says, "Okay, now what?" It's a terrible joke, isn't it? So what do you think? Is that the best joke in the world? Is that the one we could carry into all contexts? To Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth? I don't know. I don't think so. And as I get older, it becomes clearer and clearer to me that I not only come from a regional context, but from a very specific context in time, a cultural context in which I was raised and still seems to swim in my head. For instance, how do you explain to anybody under the age of 50 about Howdy Doody? Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop, Ed Sullivan, black and white TV, Negroes, Indians, Donna Reed, Joe McCarthy. These are not all warm and fuzzy nostalgic things from our past. No, indeed they are not. So much of our witness is weighed down by the baggage of our past, the sexism, the racism, the narrow-mindedness. The call to be a witness by Jesus demands that we transcend our immediate context to have a wider vision of others. But it seems to me that nowadays that immediate cultural context is becoming more and more narrow as you and I become more and more isolated, as we hear and see only those things that we want to see and hear. So did you hear about the old man who approached the White House from across Pennsylvania Avenue where he'd been sitting in a park? He walked up to the Marine guard who was standing there and said, "I would like to go in and meet with President Mitt Romney." The Marine replied, "Sir, Mr. Romney is not President of the United States. He doesn't reside here." The old man said, "Okay," and he walked away. The following day, same man approached the White House, same time, encountered the same Marine. "I would like to go in and meet with President Mitt Romney." The Marine again told him, "Sir, as I said yesterday, Mr. Romney is not president and doesn't reside here." Again, the old man thanked him, walked away. The third day, the same man approaches, same time, same guard. "Sir, I would like to go and meet with President Mitt Romney." The Marine, understandably frustrated at this point, looks at the man and said, "Sir, this is the third day in a row you've come here asking to speak to Mr. Romney. I've told you several times that Mr. Romney is not president and doesn't reside here. Don't you understand?" The old man says, "Oh, I understand you fine. I just like hearing it." That's our problem today. We surround ourselves with the things we like to hear. Maybe for you it's the story about how a man died. He went to heaven, he stood in front of the pearly gates, and he saw a huge wall of clocks behind the pearly gates. He asked, "What are all those clocks?" St. Peter answered, "Those are lie clocks. Everyone on earth has a lie clock. Every time you tell a lie, the hands on your clock move." "Oh," said the man, "whose clock is that?" "That's Mother Teresa's," said St. Peter. "The hands have never moved, indicating that she has never told a lie." "Incredible," said the man. And whose clock is that one?" St. Peter said, "That's Abraham Lincoln's clock. The hands have moved twice, indicating that Lincoln only told 2 lies in his entire life." "I see. And where's President Obama's clock?" said the man. "Oh, Obama's clock is in Jesus' office. He's using it as a ceiling fan." There you go. Some of you didn't want to hear that one, did you? That's how we all are. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. For some of us, when President Obama opens his mouth, we don't want to hear it. Others of us, when Donald Trump opens his mouth, we don't want to hear it. We will not be witnesses when those who are testifying are so objectionable to us. Because witness, of course, goes both ways. Instead, we will surround ourselves in a kind of bubble of like-minded testimony, an echo chamber of our own opinions. It's like the comedian Mike Birbiglia says, "People get down on Fox News, but at least with Fox News, you know it's not true." In the interest of being fair and balanced, let me also ask, what do you get when you cross an NPR correspondent with a zombie? An NPR correspondent. We don't want to hear it. Either from NPR or from Fox News, we don't want to hear it. In this past week, how many times have you turned off the radio, switched the station, hit the remote because you didn't want to hear that political ad one more time? We don't want to hear it. And more seriously, how many of you gave at least a passing thought to moving this week when the political yard sign started popping up and your next door neighbor put up one for a candidate that you simply cannot stand? We don't want to hear it. We don't want to see it. And we certainly don't want to deal with it living right next door to us. So, Jesus calls us to be witnesses to Jerusalem, to Judea, to Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And this call falls on intentionally deaf ears. And our orbit of witnessing doesn't even extend past the boundary of our own thoughts and opinions. And of course, that's not what Christ's example taught us. Jesus went to Zacchaeus' home. I don't know if Zacchaeus was a one-percenter. We do know he was short in stature. He may have had small hands. And he definitely defrauded and swindled others, but Jesus didn't stop on the road to denounce Zacchaeus, to preach and pontificate. He stopped to declare that he, Jesus, must come to Zacchaeus' house today. And he did go to that house. He broke bread with him, and he heard his testimony, the testimony of a repentant man and a changed life. That's Jesus' example. Just like when Jesus went to the house of a leader in the synagogue, a pillar of the religious community, upholder of the social order, yet at that same dinner, Jesus directed words of praise to a woman who shattered social conventions by approaching him, weeping and washing his feet with her tears and drying them with the hair that she scandalously had let down in his presence. No one else wanted to see it. No one else wanted to hear it, but there was Jesus, offering praise and mercy, love and compassion. Just so did Jesus offer to the leper who returned to Jesus to thank him for helping him. Just so did Jesus offer to the woman with a flow of blood who reached out to touch him. Just so did Jesus offer to the 5,000 souls who wanted to linger and listen even when the day grew long, the night came close, and supper time was past. And just so did Jesus offer to all the poor and distressed among whom he lived and among whom he ministered throughout his life. Just so did Jesus offer to the citizens of Galilee throughout all Judea, to a Samaritan woman, and through the centurion to the ends of the earth in Rome. That's Jesus' example. Not a closed bubble of the like-minded, not the echo chamber of his own opinions. He was a true witness, sharing the gospel to Jerusalem, to all of Judea, to Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And being among folks who disagreed with him did not alter his commitment to justice. Engaging in conversation with the closed-minded did not close Jesus' mind. Sharing his message of love with the unlovely and unloving did not drain away his compassion for all of God's children. In fact, Jesus had all-encompassing compassion. That was the bedrock of his ministry. It's that kind of witness that Pastor Martin Niemöller spoke about in what was perhaps the most moving quote of the whole 20th century. In Germany, they came first for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time there was no one left to speak. You will be my witnesses in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Jesus told the apostles, just as Jesus tells us, ascending in each one of us, tells us today and calls us to be witnesses of the powerful love of Jesus Christ in the world. You will be my witnesses. Be bold. Be brave. Carry the message. Amen.